What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I've been in the market for an engine stand for a little while now because we do have a couple engines that we're ready to build. So I hopped online and got to looking around and I came up with this. This is a 1,300 pound rated engine stand made by Vevor. I bought it off of Amazon. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. I bought this with my own money, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty decent unit. This one is a little bit different than your standard three-legged design engine stands. This one actually has a square base, and the reason I went with this one is because A, it's rated for 1,300 pounds, and B, because of the square base. I think that's going to give us a little bit more stability when we're working on a bigger engine. So this will allow us to build everything from our little four-cylinder Honda engines all the way up to our LS or small block Chevy. So I'm pretty excited to open this thing up, and I wanted you guys to be able to check it out. So today we're going to open this thing up, we're going to assemble it, and then we're going to put it to the test. So let's get through the intro and jump right into today's video. Gotten through the intro, let's get this thing opened up so we can check it out. Let's get this thing opened up so we can start laying out some parts. Manual. Some casters, some end caps, looks like the adapters for the engine itself. I'm going to run through this quick because I'm not usually an unboxing guy, but it looks like you got a handle there, one of the legs, another leg, some hardware I would assume, the plate that goes that this is going to rotate on with our engine on it, and then a couple more legs. Like I said, not sponsored or anything like that, guys. Right off the bat, those beams here seem a little bit on the small side, but I'm not going to judge it till we get this thing put together. So I'm going to go ahead, open all these things up real quick, and then we will start putting this thing together. I do kind of like the color. Wish it was yellow, but I do like the color. So let's go ahead and get everything opened up, and we'll start assembly. Did notice some defective paint or powder coating, whatever they used, right here already chipping off, but not a big deal. Again, this kit was like 80 bucks, I think, so super cheap. That's why I want to see if it's any good. So we'll finish getting this thing opened up here. Now that we've got everything all laid out, we can start getting ready to put this thing together. But before we do, I did want to mention a couple things here. The finish on the paint on this thing isn't the greatest. Not sure if you guys can see that, but there's a lot of pieces that are like that, or the paint's already chipping off. So not the best paint, but again, it's like an $80 kit on Amazon, so you really can't complain too much about the paint. But another thing I noticed was on this beam here, when I was unpackaging it, it had a bunch of little BBs fall out of it. Not sure if it's from the sandblasting process or their welding process. You can probably hear them inside here still. Not sure what it is. If you guys know what that is, let me know in the comments down below. I'm very curious. But now that we've got it all laid out, let's get some tools and we can put this thing together. The only tools we're going to need to get this thing put together is a 19mm socket and a 19mm or an adjustable wrench. So let's get some of these parts out of the way. We'll start one piece at a time and get this thing put together. So we're going to have 3 different length bolts. You're going to have long, medium, and short. So we're just going to go ahead and separate these out quick. Then you've got flat washers and we've got lock washers. So like I said, this is what we're going to have for hardware. You're going to have flat washers, lock washers, nuts. You're going to have 4 long bolts, 2 medium bolts, and 4 short bolts. We're going to start right here at the plate and start putting this together, and then we'll move on to the stand itself. So to start with the plate, we're going to grab one of the arms and one of our shortest bolts. Put it right through like that, right through there like that. Then we're going to grab a flat washer, put that on, then a lock washer, and then one of our M12 nuts. I'm not going to tighten these down. I'm just going to get them all started on here, and then we'll go through when we get the engine and stuff, and we'll tighten all this up when we know where it needs to be. But for now, you can just throw all 4 of these on. Like I said, bolt. Now we can set this to the side and start working on the base. Next, we're gonna put together the main frame. So we're gonna need these 2 long straight legs and then the main leg that goes towards the back. We're also gonna need our 4 caster wheels. So we'll grab those. And of course, we'll need hardware. Grab that as well. Now with the 2 legs, you'll notice that there's 4 holes on this end of the beam and 1 hole on this end. We want to make sure that this hole faces the ground so that we can put our caster through that hole when we're ready. So we're going to line these up on this end just like so, making sure that that caster hole is on the bottom so we can get that wheel on. So I'm going to set mine just like so. We're going to grab our medium bolt, a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut. And get that started just like so. Take a flat washer, lock washer, and the nut, just like we're gonna do everywhere. Flat, lock, nut. So we can get that one on, and then we can come to the other side, do the same thing, making sure that the wheel hole is down. You can go ahead and get this one. Again, grab a medium bolt, nut, flat washer, and lock washer. I'm gonna wait to tighten these up until we get everything assembled, and then we'll go through and tighten them all. Then we can grab our casters. We're gonna have 2 different casters. One has a long threaded bolt on it, one has a short, one has locks, one does not. We're gonna set the lock ones aside for the front. We're gonna take the ones that have the long threads, the longer bolt, and use those in the back, and they're gonna go up from the bottom, just like so. Then we're gonna do the same thing, flat washer, lock washer, and a nut. Do the same thing on this side now. Then we can put the casters on the other side. I'm just going to slide this back, make it a little bit easier for us. Flat washer, lock washer, and a nut for these as well. And these ones only go through the bottom. Washer, lock washer, and then the nut. So those we'll have to tighten with a 19mm wrench. Do the same thing on the other side now. Now I'm going to grab my wrench and we're going to go through and tighten all these ones up. So you've got to go in here and tighten these inside here. It's kind of a pain. You need a super thin wrench for the bottom. But I'm hoping once they get snug up to the metal, we'll be fine. Yep, and they are. Once they get contact, just hold them with your fingers. Once they get contact, it holds tight enough to tighten it with a wrench. Over here and do the same thing on this side. Alright, this side's plenty tight now. We got that end tight. I'm going to hang that end off now. And we'll do this end. So I don't have a wrench that's thin enough to fit in between for the caster, but I've been lucky enough, once it gets tight, it seems to hold itself just fine. So I'm going to try the impact on it. Those are plenty tight enough for me, so now I'm just going to move some stuff out of the way. We'll get this thing turned. I'm going to set mine just like so. Now we can grab the main mast and we're going to put it on just like so with the L facing the back, just like that. We're going to grab our last 4 bolts that we have here, the long ones. 2 go down from the top, like so. Then we're gonna have 2 go in from the back. Just like that. And just like everywhere else, we're gonna grab a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut for all 4 of these and get these things on. Grab the last 2 to go up from the bottom. Now that we've got them all started, I'm gonna grab the impact gun. We've got those all nice and tight. Now we can move all this stuff and set it on the ground. Now we can grab our end caps here, the little plastic end caps, and we can slap these things in. Now that we've got our new engine stand assembled, let's test this thing out with the new engine for our super cheap turbo Civic build. This is a D16 Y8 that we just picked up for $150 off of Facebook Marketplace, that we're going to be putting a set of rods and pistons in so that we can feed this thing all of the boost. You guys will see this in another video, but we're going to be using it to test out this new engine stand. Now that we got the engine over here, we can start getting it set up to go on the stand. This is the way I've always done it. I take this piece right off of our new stand, and then I bring it over here and get it bolted up to the engine, and then we just have to line this up with the hoist. So let's go ahead and get this thing bolted on. We've got the jaws or arms that came with the kit here. They slide on these different grooves, and then I've got the bolts from the bell housing that came out of the car, and then I've got some miscellaneous washers that we're going to use to space where we need to. So let's go ahead and get this first one on here and started. Gonna need some washers on that one. I would use a shorter bolt, but the only other ones I have are way too short. So this will work just fine, as long as it's not in the way of anything for us. Do the same thing on this other top one. Just going to make sure that this isn't bolted to the head or anything that you guys plan to take off once it's on your stand. Which in our case, it's not. We're bolting it right to the block and the washers miss the head, so we're good there. Get this one started. This bolt for this one. And then, not my favorite way to do this, but it's all I had that would work on this last side over here. It's where a dowel pin would be, and it goes all the way through the block, so we're going to use it. It'll be just fine. We've got 3 other strong bolts that are going to hold this thing. So, put that on there like so. Now I'm going to go around and just get these all tight. Like that. And that one's nice and tight. All right, we're good to go. Let's grab the engine hoist. We'll get this thing slung up and get it set on the stand. Go ahead and get this thing lifted up. Go with around there for now. Get this out of our way. All right, so this is an issue with the square stand, I'm noticing already. So what we're going to have to do is go way up with it, and I'll show you what I'll do. Go way up there. Just like that. And now, as we come down, I'll just have to fight with this thing a little bit. Just like that. We could have blocked this or made this chain longer here, but I'm dealing with height issues. But I do see why having a 3-legged engine stand would be a little bit easier for working with engine hoists like this. Now that we've got it on the stand, I want to wheel it around just in here a little bit and just see how the stand feels. It is a small engine, obviously. This isn't like a diesel or my LS or anything like that. Just a little 4-cylinder. But I figured it'd be a great one to test it on. It does seem pretty sturdy as far as that goes. Curious to see how it wheels. All in all, it actually feels pretty good. I'm not going to turn the engine all the way over because there is still oil in it, but I am going to put the bar in here real quick. Just see how it feels like that. Turned really easy. Feels pretty solid. We'll go back to where it was. Not bad at all. So before we wrap this video up, I wanted to put the engine stand to the test and get some real world experience with it and using it for a few days and see if it's something that I actually like. And as you guys can see, we've got an engine completely torn down on here. This is actually for our super cheap turbo Civic build. Gonna be a little piston rod combo for our turbo setup. But if you guys want to see the teardown and the rebuild on this engine, make sure to stay tuned for the next video. We will go through the entire teardown procedure. But as far as the engine stand is concerned, I'm actually really happy with it. I like it a lot. And even working with a smaller engine, these legs don't get in your way. I was worried about that off the bat, that I'd be tripping over these while trying to work on the engine, but they don't seem to get in my way at all. And I had this tray laying around that fits it perfectly. So super happy about that. Now, one of the complaints I do have is, as you can see, the casters, the front ones are the ones that lock and the rears don't. Well, when you're working on a small engine like this, all of the weight is back there, so those casters don't seem to do a whole lot. So as you can see, I just threw a wheel chock on either side of it to help it stay in place when we were loosening stuff like the head bolts, and it definitely helped. Once I put the blocks there, this thing was perfect. I did also actually like having this leg here because sometimes I would stand on it, which gave me a little bit of extra height when doing the head bolts, so that worked out pretty good. So all in all, I've actually really enjoyed using this thing. It's a nice little piece, and for the price, you really can't go wrong. So I hope today's video helped you guys out. As always, I appreciate you for checking out the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and check us out on all of our other social media platforms: Facebook, TikTok, and Bought to Build Official on Instagram. And we will catch you on the next one.